Hi, and welcome to another Candid Moments with myself, Sapphire. This week's topic, I'm going to be discussing what are the biggest financial challenges single mothers face. Now, why is it this topic I've chosen? Because there is some financial challenges when I was raising my children that I faced. So I want you to highlight it. And I'm not to say that men that are single parents are not facing the same things, but I'm taking it from the perspective as me as that single parent. Each week we bring you various topics that I highlight from my life that I went through and I want to share with you on how to get it right. I bring you this each week, every Friday at 12 p.m. You can see us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can, this video will be shared on these various platforms. If you have any questions or anything you would like to discover more about the Savvy Women Group, please feel free to also use our contact details, which is coming up. So the biggest financial challenge single parents face is being able to what? What are these challenges? Housing, covering rent or mortgage payments. Now, when I was coming up with my young children, this was the one thing that I struggled with. I was covering rent at the time when I had my children. It wasn't a mortgage because I was a young teen mother. So it was covering rent and making sure that I had enough rent. And sometimes it felt like I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, if you understand that expression. Either I was paying my rent, or I was covering food, or I was covering clothes for the kids. Whatever it was, I struggled with it. Credit was, not being able to make payments on time that led to debt, that gave me a bad credit score. These were other things that I had challenges with as well. How to understand credit, what was a good credit score. And back then I wasn't even educated on understanding about credit. When I was allowed to get credit, I just got it and spent. I didn't know about the APRs. I didn't know about clearing back down the debt. I didn't know paying the minimum was going to get me in even more debt. So these are the things that I learned over time. And this is why I wanted to share this one, because women, single parents do struggle with this. Loans, unable to get a low interest rate. Being a single parent, did you know that it's harder for you to get loans at a good rate? Well, it was back then, and I struggled to get good loans if I needed it because I was a single parent, and one income households generally are not looked upon as being favorable for credit. So which ones are unique to single mums / parents? Now, childcare, if you're looking to get good childcare, if you're going to, at my point, it was going back to school because I was a teen mum, as I said. So looking for childcare is and was expensive back then. And looking for that childcare to be unique to your child and being the ability for them being a good childcare system was really hard and very expensive, especially when it was just myself paying for it. Work, having to take part-time work. Well, as I shared with you on many occasions, this is why I went into business, because there wasn't any work that was going to be suitable for me and mine. So I had to create my own work and my own work schedule in order that I could look after my family and create my own part-time work. Food, food provision as well. Is it nutritional? We choose to buy quick food, cheap food, because that's the only expense that we can afford. So you go into the local supermarkets to get quick food and cheaper food. But is that good for our kids? And this is where I learned how to make balanced meal, nutritious meals for my children by, yes, going to the supermarkets that were favorable to my pocket at the time, but also making sure that I was benefiting my kids by still giving them vegetables and fruits and things like that. So yes, it is unique. Being able to feed our kids balanced meals is very hard. But I spoke about how I fed my kids balanced meals even when I wasn't building out being an entrepreneur and building out my business. I always wanted to make sure that my kids were fed well and dressed well, even if I was on a budget. And it wasn't about designer clothes then. it was just basic clothes. I used to make most of their clothes as well. So I always made my kids' clothes, always made sure I balanced out their meals by including vegetables, fruits, and cooking them myself. I never was a fast food person. It was always a treat if we done fast food. So I had that balance. Activities can be a stumbling block as well. Paying for extra curriculum things for your children as well. My daughters were fortunate I was able to afford that because I balanced out our finances. So they went to tap dancing, they went ballet, they went jazz dancing. I allowed them to have these activities because I could balance out the finances to actually give it to them. And money, having savings, holidays, and all for emergencies. Again, this was really hard to balance at the time because obviously if you've got debt, you're clearing down your debt rather than doing anything else that is seen to be luxury items. And holidays definitely is one of those, and saving absolutely is. But as time went on, I understood clearing down my debts first and allowing those debts to go away. I was then able to save so that I can introduce holidays and different things, activities for my children. So how can you budget successfully if you're a single parent? So budgeting is the key to understanding where your money is and where your money is going out. So always have a budgeting sheet. I created a budgeting sheet in Excel and I still have that till today. So each column, I put the month. So I've done January to December. Say if it was this year, it will be 2021. And each month, I save all of my receipts. And each month I would say, right, if it's coming out direct debit, I'd look through my statement, make sure that it crossed over with the receipts I had and the bills that I was getting coming in. And I look at those and put them in my spreadsheet and see how much money I was actually spending or how much money I could actually save. So if I thought I was overspending on food, I will make sure next month I cut back, not leaving my kids with starving, but making sure that I wasn't spending on luxury items that I simply couldn't afford back then. So now what I do is make sure all of my bills are covered. The kids' childminding at the time was covered. Their food was covered, their clothing, whatever needed for the house was always covered. And whatever was left went towards additional paying off. If I had credit cards outstanding then, was paying off those credit cards. So working out and being meticulous and hard on yourself, not stingy, but hard on yourself and making sure that you budget right will really set you in good stead to have a balance in your family as well. So sourcing the best prices for utilities is key as well. Look at what utilities you're paying for now. Are they higher? Can you get cheaper? So look at sourcing different utilities to make sure that you're getting the best price for your house. Utilizing friends and families for childcare help will always bring down your childcare costs if you need to go out. I had my sister, my lovely sister Debbie, who always was there for me, and I was always there for her when it came to childcare. Sometimes the kids made a joke that they didn't know which house they actually lived in because we always was swapping kids and really supporting each and other as we came up raising our children. We was able to rely on one another as that support factor. And that was another thing. We cooked, as we call it, the one pot. So every time she would come over, I'll cook for her and my nephews, and then she would do the same for me and her nieces. So we always came and combined food and babysitting. And if I needed to go out as time went on to business meetings, she was always there for me to back me up in doing that. And I also in turn done the same for her. So relying on family and friends was really, really important to me back then. My kids are grown now, so I don't have no babysitters. I do have grandchildren, so I've become the one that is doing the babysitting now. Buying in bulk is also key as well, if you can. Don't do like people done last year, however, and went out and bought ridiculously in bulk, but just topping up on things that you can get a deal on, i.e. kitchen towels or things like that. So you've got those, or frozen food that you've got vegetables in the freezer. Buying in small bulks will save you money in the long run, but don't go crazy on this because you don't want waste as well. Planning out your meals. What I used to do 7 days a week where I knew exactly what we was going to be eating. And that really helped with the budget as well, because I only bought according to the meals that I was prepping for, and always made sure that my cupboards and larders had flour, and I had different things that I can make bread, I can make dumplings, I can make things that cornmeal porridge, things that were wholesome but also nutritional for my kids as well. And also made sure I had vegetables, yam plantains, green bananas, things like that, that I knew that I could put against saltfish and ackee and things like that, and greens. These are West Indian foods, by the way, but these are the things that I used to have in the house as well, to make sure that the kids were able to eat and have that balanced meal. So we pre-planned. Coupons and money-saving websites. I mean, coupons for me was back then, money-saving websites were a new phenomenon for me, but coupons were always good. If you get coupons and savings, you could exchange those for against the products that they got the coupons for, which can also save you money. So what do parents need to consider if they want to get ahead of their financial situation? You need to consider it's okay. You don't have to match your peers. You don't have to, be in the same realm as where your peers are. Work out which debts are the highest in interest. Look at spare cash, if you have it, every month, and use this to pay off your debt. Seek out work from home opportunities as extra income. Assess whether you can do overtime at work to be financially rewarding and a financial gain. So what are some of the solution parents to who are struggling financially? Assess again outgoings and see if there's anything that can be cancelled. So if you've got Netflix, if you've got mobile phones, anything that you feel, you know what, I don't actually use that and I don't actually need it, then cancel it. Don't feel that you're obliged to keep this up just because when you was in a good shape that you could afford it. When you can afford it again, you could go back and get that subscription. But for now, if you're struggling financially, make sure you cut the things that you don't need. Look for extra work and that can fit around your childcare and that you have in place, and definitely contact your debtors and see if they can reduce your debt. I speak on this all the time. People bury their heads like ostriches and just think they're drowning in debt. You don't have to be. Your debtors are there for you to reach out to them and say, hey, this is where I am financially and I need your assistance. If you even strip it down to where you're stripping interest rates and let's freeze that, and you're paying £1 a month, that's £1 a month more than zero. So don't be afraid to embrace that and contact them, because there's always a solution to a problem. Are there any financial tools that can help? I always say keeping a monthly budget sheet. Again, I spoke about it, keeping your receipts and keeping a budget sheet on an Excel. It's cheap enough to do. There's many websites that can help you as well, that can help you bring your budget under control and make you aware of what is right for you and how you can deal with your finances. Many banks also offer additional pods. And what I do with those pods is I put different money away for different situations and circumstances. So for instance, if you know you've got your electricity bill or gas bill coming up, you can have a pod specifically for electric and put away a couple of quid every month. In the next quarter, you know you've got that covered. The same with your gas, the same with council tax, all of these things, you know, yeah, if you put away in different pods, you know that you're financially covered by them. So get saving for these pods. So your money comes in and you separate your money out so you know all of your expenses and only use it when it's to pay that specific bill. Look at your house rent, mortgage. Are you getting the best from it? And look at entertainment, childcare, debts and savings. Always make sure you allocate these funds so that you know where you are and you feel like you're getting somewhere financially. So how should single mums approach credit building and debt repayments? Aim to pay off the highest APR percentage rate. First, this can be done by finding your credit report, looking at what the highest APR is on that credit report aside from your mortgage, and then start clearing that down. Do not keep on paying the bare minimum. All you want to do is look at the highest one, start throwing more at the highest one, clear that debt down, and then pass and repeat onto the next one, and then do it with the next one. The next thing you know, you've paid off all your debt. You've paid off all your credit cards, and you're in a good way to moving yourself forward to start saving. And when you start saving, that's where the geniusness come in, because then you can now use that saving to build more income, to build more money for you and your family. And that's exactly what I did. I cleared down all of my debts, got rid of all credit cards, in the sense that I had no debt on them. And when I use credit cards now, I make sure that I always pay in full at the end of the month, no matter what the amount is. It's always paid in full because I've got that money sitting there now that I can do that. But it's just helping me build up my credit rating. And this is what people don't understand. When you pay off full, it helps build up your credit score. Therefore, if it builds up your credit score, when it is those big items that you want to buy, i.e. a house or an investment, your credit score is boosted because you've been paying off, and you are a person that they like to associate themselves with because you're a person that will pay your debt on time. So questions. Do you have debt that you think you can't clear? Do you have a finance plan? What is your biggest financial worry being a parent? Do you need help with your finances? Well, if you can answer these questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, and please feel free to reach out to me as well, because I can help you with all of this week's questions. Remember, you can reach us via email for a free discovery call. If you need information about property investment or started saving kids, if you're saving kidsy, and work out your property budget or your household budget, please feel free to contact us. You can email us at info@savvywomen.co.uk, or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. That's 50 Savvy Women on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I look forward to sharing another finance talk with you and candid moments with you next week. I enjoy these topics with you because I give my personal perspective, and I also share the financial talk with you on a Saturday as well, to get you understanding your finances, both in the property space and both in your own personal life. So join us on a Saturday where I share these tips with you as well. But it was lovely speaking to you this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's topic, and please get your finances straight, because if you don't, who will?